One Piece, episode 1128, now out, so let's talk about it. So, the new episode of One Piece is now out for you guys to go and check out, and last week's episode was brilliant. It was so freaking good. I loved it. You know, the fight with Kizaru and Luffy getting started. I really enjoyed that. Zoro versus Rob Lucci, fantastic. Animation on point. So, coming into this one with the preview, I was excited because the arrival of Saturn is here. And I was I was not prepared for how great they would do it. You know, we've seen it in the manga, we think, oh yeah, this is absolutely badass moment. But the anime, what they did with the arrival of Saturn was better than what I thought they were going to do. They really, really hammered home that this is a threat. That Saturn is someone who is not to be taken lightly. It's someone that is very high up. Someone that feels like when they arrive, oh, you can't be looking at this guy because this guy's going to just straight up murder you for seeing who he is. So when he arrives, they did it so well with the whole having him there with his glass of wine, you know, just preparing himself to get there. And just, I think the pacing, like, I know some people have pacing issues with One Piece. They're like, oh, One Piece is too slow. It takes forever to get something. I think the pacing of this episode was brilliant because, you know, you have the start of the episode where you have Sanji activating his woman radar, which I absolutely love, to find where Bonnie is. You have them saving Bonnie. You still have the stuff with Luffy and Kizaru going on. You have that fight going on. Obviously, Luffy in Gear 5 is just a lot of fun. And then they show us the fight with Zoro and Rob Lucci, a little bit more of that. And that fight is really, really good, man. It's animated so good. The sound is absolutely fantastic. The one criticism I would say is chopping and changing from each of the fights like that, just giving us, here's a little bit. It's like going to, you know, a buffet and saying, look, you can have a little bit here and a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And you're like, but I want the full meal there. No, 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 not yet. You got to take little bits and then go somewhere else, have little bits. It's frustrating, but it's One Piece and it's fine. It's not like anything where I'm like, oh, it's unwatchable. It's just one of those little things where I'm like, I'm so invested in the fights that I want to see them just continue, but that's not what it. But anyway, so that you have all that stuff at the start there. And then you get into the moment where Saturn is arriving and they slowly build it up. You know, they flicker from the red eyes in the darkness, which I absolutely love. That imagery right there shows you that this man means business. You know, they're flickering from that, him getting up out of his chair and walking, and then the big, like, you know, circle thing happens and the lightning, and everyone can feel something is not right. You know, everyone's like, what is going on here? What's going on here? And even Kizaru and Luffy, they stop and they're like, ooh, okay, something's happening here. Something's coming. Rob Lucci and Zoro are like, ooh, what? And then this is where we get the information from Vegapunk, who's like, Saturn's coming with 5 elders. They are like the highest authority. Anyone who's read the manga will know other stuff as well. But they are really building it up, and I like that. The music is great, and just watching it happen. And then as Saturn arrives, he revives as his like blob. That's how it starts. It starts as a blob, and then you just see the legs start to come, the other spider leg. You know, you just see him start to develop in this thing. And I think slowing it down and showcasing it this way, in this sort of pacing format, I think really does hammer home that this man is someone that is higher authority. Because, you know, they could have easily just had him just pop up like that. You know, beam of lightning, and there he is. He's right there. But I really liked how they did it here. And, you know, again, changing from the red eyes in the darkness back to that, I think is just phenomenal storytelling. Visual storytelling, sorry. It's just phenomenal because you start to feel that tension, that atmosphere that Saturn is creating. And, you know, we find out here as well when one of the Navy officers are like, oh, anyone that's a certain rank, you have to get off the island. You can't see this guy. You are not allowed to be in his presence. And when Saturn finally arrives, not only does he look absolutely incredible animated, sitting there as the spider form, like giant and everything, I'm sitting there, I'm like, yo, Saturn looks freaking badass, man. They literally took it straight from the page and just whack, here you go. Beautiful. He sees these two low-ranking Navy officers right there, just looking at him. So what does he do? Bam! He kills one of them. Just straight up kills one of them. And I'm sitting there like, yo, this is absolutely brutal. But I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it. So that was great. And then we see Saturn just sitting there, and he's like thinking, okay, and then obviously Dr. Vegapunk, they're going up the clouds, and then Kizaru hits it and knocks them down from there. And then this is where Luffy starts attacking, and Kizaru's like, oh, I think you're out of time on this one. Luffy does land this absolutely insane punch that I absolutely loved. Animated beautifully. It really captured the actual fist going into the face and just feeling that power, and sends Kizaru flying. Luffy then passes out because he's not in that form anymore. But we have the moment where Saturn looks up and sees Luffy, and he says, Nika? So anyone who's read the manga would know where this is going. Any anime-only people, I'm not going to spoil where it's going, but just know that Nika is something that's very important moving forward. And I love that moment. And then obviously Luffy falls out of Gear 5 and he falls to the ground. And then we have Saturn there. Bonnie starts remembering things about Kuma because Kuma is her dad. Starts remembering that this guy is the one that was giving the orders about taking the free will away from Kuma in the flashback sequence. So she picks up a sword and charges at him and stabs him. So that's basically where the episode ends. So it ends with that moment. And next week's episode is going to be the backstory of Kuma and Bonnie. You know, the father and daughter relationship. So we're going to get all that through. I think Chopper's going to narrate it or something like that. Well, Chopper was in that. But we're going to get that backstory next week. But overall, this episode I thought was really, really good. I mean, the arrival of Saturn is absolutely fantastic. I loved every single minute of that. I thought that was just so freaking good, man. And then you go to Luffy and Kizaru is great. That fight is absolutely fantastic. Rob Lucci and Zoro, man, I just want to keep watching that fight. It's just so freaking good. You know, we also get the more reveals about the Five Elders and how they're the highest authority. You know, we're getting all this stuff, but animation was fantastic as well. Like, come on, One Piece from when it first started to where it is now. I know some people prefer the old school style, but I mean, you just can't deny how beautifully animated One Piece is right now. It's beautiful. It's just really, really good constantly, and it really has upgraded the fights and everything else. So I really, really liked it. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys enjoy this episode? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't like the animation. Maybe you didn't like the arrival of Saturn. I thought they did it great, but I want to hear your thoughts. So smash it down in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Click subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.